Well, good morning. I've got my layout sheet here for the Sawhorse bracket template. And what I need to do is take this layout and draw it to actual size. This is not actual size. These measurements are not exactly what you see. So if I were to lay a ruler on that, you will be able to see that this is not an inch and a half here. It's a little bit small. This is not drawn full size. So I need to take my card. I've got a blank card here. And yesterday we answered some questions. And this card would represent a blank of sheet metal. And this is 4.5 this way and 8 inches left to right this way. So it's a rectangle. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to do is fold this card in half. Like so. Fold that in half. Students in the past taught me that this is hamburger style, not lengthwise, which would be referred to as hot dog style. So I learned that one thanks to those students previous years. Um, so there's my card. All right. So I want to get everything centered. What I do on the left side, I do on the right side. Okay. So that's what's going on here with my pattern. So I'm going to flip back and forth a couple times. You'll see I'm looking at my layout and then I'm drawing on my card. So the first thing I want to do is this center space right here. And my fold line goes right up the middle. So it's right about there. So what I need to do is split this measurement in half. Okay, what's half of that? That was one of your questions yesterday. So if you answered 1.75 inches correctly, then that's the measurement we need. So this is on this side, and this is 1.75 inches on that side. Now, how do Sawhorse brackets work? Well, we can talk about that on another day. But the whole reason behind Sawhorse bracket, why we build Sawhorse brackets, is so that you can buy a standard 2x4 from the lumberyard and just make some straight cuts with your handsaw or power saw and insert that into the bracket. And I can show you what those look like on a later date. So back to my card. I've got my card there, and I've got my ruler. So I'm going to slide this over. Now I'm going to measure from my fold 1.75 inches. I'll make a little mark. I'm going to come down to the bottom of my card and do the same. I'm going to slide my ruler over. And I'll make sure that I'm still on camera for you guys. Right there, see, 1.75 inches. And I'm marking the end of my ruler, so I did a little bit different this time. There we go. Now I can turn my ruler and I'll use it like a straight edge. But you've got to make marks high and low, or you're not going to have a square line. So why do we want 3.5 inches? Well, because that's what's on the layout, number one. Number two is that's what our standard 2x4 is going to measure. Okay, so if we make these bends too close together and a standard 2x4 is not going to fit in there, we're going to have problems. I can double check once I have my lines. See, I'm right on 3.5 there. Okay. So double check this. Take a minute. Make sure that it works. Don't make it too tight. A 16th, I could go 3 9/16 on the bottom would be better than 3 7/16 because then I've got to shave down my 2x4 to get it to fit in there. Or I'm bending the sheet metal. That's not good. All right. So now I'm gonna go on the next measurement. So once I have this done, I can cross that off. The next measurement is 1.5 inches, right? And this is the same as the other side over here. It's not measured, it's not labeled, but this is also 1.5 inches on this side. Remember, whatever I do on the left, I do on the right, kind of like a math equation. Sorry, didn't mean to throw that at you. So I am going to line up my 1.5 inches here, and I'll make a little mark at the end of my ruler. I'm going to make a mark down low and a mark up high. I'm going to turn my ruler and connect those dots. All right. I need to do that to the other side as well, but I'm just going to work on one side here so you guys can see what's going on. You're going to need the whole template, so you have to do both sides. So remember to do that to the right side as well. All right. And the next measurement I have here on my layout sheet is I have 3/4 of an inch. That's going to get me out here. But if you look, this tab is beyond this little guy here. So I've got to take out this space right there. This is only 1/2 inch. Okay. So let's try that with our ruler. Yep, I have exactly 3/4 inch right there to the edge of my card. So let's make a mark. Let me come right down to the bottom. And I'm going to make a mark at 1/2 inch right there. I'm going to slide up a bit. I don't have to go all the way to the top of the card because I'm just creating this little tab down here. I will turn my ruler and draw that line. Okay. So there I've got my tab. Well, remember, I laid out half the card. You've got a little more work to do. I'm not working too much on the right side over here, but you've got to create everything that I just did on the right side as well. Let's slide over to our layout sheet, and we've got a group of measurements here on the right side of our layout sheet. So I need to start laying out some horizontal lines. We did the vertical lines, but we didn't do any horizontal lines. So the first one I'm going to tackle is this 1.25 inches, however you prefer to say that. So that's from the bottom of my card. I'm going to turn it. And when I turn it, make sure I'm on the screen for you guys. I'm going to make a little mark over there, anywhere over on the end. I'll slide it up and do the same thing. Okay. So I've got 2 marks. Now I can turn my ruler and draw that line. Let's go back to our layout sheet for a second. So I did that. I can cross these off as I'm measuring, as I'm laying these out. And that way I don't get lost. The next one would be 1 inch. So if this 1.25 inches is accurate, I'm going to stack. See, this doesn't come from the bottom of the card. It's on top. So I'm going to stack 1 inch on top. If your ruler's not real accurate on the end, if it's not been cared for, I can start on the 2 inch and mark the 1. That's a little trick you can do for accuracy. I'm going to come down the way. This one's pretty good. This is a heavy steel shop ruler. So it's pretty good on the end, but I just wanted to give you that option. All right, looking like that. You can start to see it take shape. Let's look back at our layout. The last measurement I need would be 4 inches to get me to this little shelf right here. And 4 3/8 takes me to the very top. So that's what my card should measure. If it were 4.5, that would be fine as well. 4 3/8, 4.5, somewhere in that neighborhood. Let's see what this one was cut. Yeah, this one's about 4 7/16. That's okay. I split the difference there. That'll be just fine. But remember, I need 4 inches. So I'll put 4 inches on the bottom of my card, and I will make a little mark. The top end of my ruler right there. You see it? Right there. There he is. I'll slide down the way and do the same thing. There we go. Okay. All right. Turn this back for you. What do you think? Can you see it? Yep. Well, we have a little shaping to do here. Let's add this little angle right here. I'm going to add that. Comes from this point right here. So I'm 1, 2 lines in, and I'm the first line up. Okay, that's my point. What angle does it need to be? Well, folks, it doesn't really matter. I just need an angle there to remove a little sheet metal. So you can just drop your straight edge on there however you want. I wouldn't make it too severe, but it honestly doesn't matter. And I'm just going to come right to the edge of the card like that. When I fold, this is a bend line. So when I fold this little tab up, I don't want this corner to interfere with the rest of my project because I'll get a bubble. So that's why I take that little triangle out. I'm going to be cutting this line straight. So my waist, if I shade this, you can shade it, or you can just illustrate the lines. Darken the lines so you know. Be very clear on what you're cutting. Once you cut this, if it's not drawn right, you got to redraw the whole thing. All right. So this is the shaded part is my waist. I'm going to cut that off. On paper, when I make my template, I'll cut it with scissors. When I cut sheet metal, scissors don't cut sheet metal very well. So I'm actually going to cut that with tin snips. And we'll talk about tin snips and shears and brakes, all the other sheet metal tools that we need. All right, so I've got one little piece of waist illustrated. Let's go back to our template for a moment. And now we have this area to deal with right up here. Okay, so let's find this point right there. Well, this is the top of my card, the very top line. So I'm one line down, and if you and one line over, this is the line between my 3.5 and 1.5 inch spaces. Okay, so if I look on my card, that's right here. So it would be 1, 2, 3 lines in. If this one doesn't go all the way up, I didn't want to count that one. So it might be the second line in for you guys. Depends on what you did here. If you drew yours halfway like I did, then don't count that one. But anyhow, I'm up here at this corner. Okay, so that's my 3.5 line, and I'm one line down from the top of the card. And what do I need to do? Well, I need to measure over 1/2 inch to get this slope here. We're going to plot a slope. Okay, so there's my 1/2 inch. I'm working away from the center, and I'm going to slide down one line. So I'm going to come down to this point right there. Slide your ruler straight down, and I'm going to plot another point. Well, now that I have 2 points, I can connect those. Okay, so this slope is this slope out here. Does that make sense? Let the camera focus a second. That makes sense? You see that? All right, so be very clear. I need that. I need this line all the way out. I could erase this line. Or I can just clean that up. Okay. So now you can see I've got a bigger piece of waste. All this area in here, I'm going to trim that off. That's all my waste. Oh, look at this. I've got a little angle right there that I don't have here. So remember, this point was my 3.5 inch line. So I'm right here. So this needs to angle up. And again, this is one of those relief angles. So that doesn't really matter exactly what angle it is. I just need to make sure it goes the correct direction. Something like that will be fine. And then this becomes waste that I'll trim off with my scissors and paper and snips in metal mode. Okay? So there's half of my template. Make sure you do both halves. So if you can follow what I did there, if not, just pause the video, rewind it, and follow the steps on the right side. But there is half of my template. Do you see the resemblance? This is drawn full size. This is not full size. That was just a layout sheet. Okay. The last thing I've got to do is lay out these 8 holes. Okay. I've only doing half of the template, so I'm going to lay out 4 of them. If you follow what I do to the other side, then you'll have all 8. So I'm going to lay out 4 because I'm doing half a template for you. The first one is I'm going to find the center of this space. So remember, this was a 1 inch space here. So center would be 1/2 inch. And I'm going to bring that over about, let's turn the ruler this way. A little crowded on my desk this morning. That's a 3/4 inch space, so I'll use half of that as well. So half of 3/4 would be 3/8. I don't want it very close to the edge. So there's where my hole is going to go. I can shorten this line up a little bit. Doesn't really matter. It's a template. Okay. I don't want to get it too close to the edge of the metal because it'll tear. And some people have found that when they're trimming these, it helps to take the corner off there because these do have to pivot a little bit. And I'll show you Sawhorse brackets at a later time. So if you want to knock that pointy corner off, feel free to do that. Some people find out when they're assembling them later that they have to do that anyway. All right, so there's one hole right there. The next one is up in the top here. So I'm going to come down about 1/4 of an inch and over 1/4. These aren't real exact, folks. Let's see how I did. Did I come over 1/4? Yeah, I would say that's about 1/4 right there. And did I come down 1/4? Yep, that's pretty close. Not bad measuring for a Tuesday, huh? All right. So that would be the same. Now you'd have one over here as well in this corner, but that's on the other side of my center line. So I've got 1, 2, and the last ones are going to be in this 1.5 inch space right here. Don't ever let your holes get too close to a fold. I like to stay 1/4 inch away or so. Okay, maintain a 1/4 inch space. You don't want it too close. You'll actually tear the metal if you get too close to an edge or too close. And to be honest with you, these are just pre-punched holes so that you can put screws in. Let me grab my Sawhorse bracket. And let me show you what this thing actually looks like. Here it is. Whoa, that looks weird on camera that way. Let's see if we can actually show this thing. Are we zoomed all the way out here? Yeah. So there's the bracket. There's the angled side that we were drawing right there. There we go. All right, that's a little better. Let the camera focus. There's the angled side we were drawing. All right, so there's the 2 holes that I was showing you. Okay, that's these 2 on the angle. This one will receive this rivet. Okay, so this one matters. And see how that corner, the ones on the outside don't matter, but when you flip this and you've got the other part, I don't know if you guys can see the inside down here, but they do. They should move a little bit. And sometimes those corners will hit. Here's those little tabs that we were drawing out here. Okay, we'll talk about the stops later. So that's our mission, is to draw this template. So once you draw it, everything I did on the left, you have to duplicate on the right side. Again, feel free to rewind the video and rewatch that and work on your template. Have a good day.